All right. Oh, actually, there's something I want to show you um, first, and that is how to move stuff around. Just to get things started, I was dumping everything into this package. And remember, our rule here is that every class must be in a named package. You can't just kind of leave it out in the middle of nowhere. However, if you accidentally do, and sometimes that's possible to happen, it's very easy to change that. The second thing is that, and I'll go into this a little further as the course goes on, there's a difference between the main classes, the classes where you kind of execute things, and the component classes, which are kind of more reusable. In other words, the main classes are almost throwaways. The ones we've been using so far are just kind of trying stuff out, testing what we've done. So having all of these in the same package actually doesn't make a lot of sense. So here's how we can move all of our, what I want to do is I'm going to move all of our main classes to another package. And so I create that package. In this case, I'm clicking on the CS2173 package, and it will let me create what looks like a sub-package. In fact, on the file system, it's actually in a subdirectory. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to take all of my main classes, and I can tell which ones they are because they have the little green arrow here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but and then I can just drag it and drop it onto that package, and it says, oh, but you want to refactor them? And the answer is yes, I do want to refactor them. And you see that it's moved them all. Not only has it moved them all here, and this is where the refactor stuff is kind of cool, it has changed the package declaration. See, because now, in this case, test my pets 2 is in the package cs2173.run. And because it's in a different package, I have to import the classes that it calls. And this is a source of confusion, particularly people coming from the C world. In this case, the sub-package, cs2173.run, is really just another name. And so every class in a package does not have direct access to classes that are in other packages unless you say import. In other words, if I remove these, then it can't find it. And you may be thinking, well, that in a way that it should be able to. Why can't it find it? Because it's just in the super. It's in the next package up. The answer is in Java, regardless of how they're organized, each package is its own unique thing and doesn't directly access the others. Now, again, when you get these kinds of red squigglies and they say cannot find symbol, and it's a class that it can't find, the quick way to fix that is you just right-click anywhere and say Fix Imports. And that brought back the 2 imports. So when you get those red squigglies, they're very easy to fix. And okay, so the other neat thing is if you just right-click somewhere and say Format, then what it will do is it will just take your code, and if it's kind of gotten a little jumbled up, it'll format it according to, in this case, the default format, which I like, but you can change that. So if for whatever reason you prefer these guys, like down here, which some people do, you can set that. So it'll format everything. But here, I think if I hit Format, it'll put it back. But again, you can change that. You can customize the format to whatever you like. And I, some some programming classes are kind of very OCD about exactly how it should be formatted. The extent of my OCD is just that it be something which is reasonable and readable. This is my preferred one, but you know, again, some people like it this way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay, so that's sort of that. Now, notice that when I've moved things, notice that they say green. Remember what green signifies in Git? It means it's been added. In fact, if you want to just double check, if I right click, I say Git show changes, and what this is showing is basically what it did is it says renamed. It essentially deleted the old ones. That's why they're showing in gray, and then added the new ones. But it kind of made a note of that. So I'm gonna commit that just because I don't want to. So I moved the main classes to CS21 73.run, and just from now on, I'm going to put all the main classes in that package and the other ones in the component. Okay, so let's. Again, this is a very simple example. Okay, I'm going to create a class. I'll call it maths. And now this logging stuff, maybe toward the end of the quarter, I'll talk a little bit about that. For our purposes, that's not something which is terribly important at this point. Logging becomes important when you're kind of building larger applications and things like that, which we won't get to this quarter. But again, if that's something that you're interested in, we just sort of look that up and talk about it. Anyway, so let's, I want to illustrate method overloading. Okay, so here's I'm going to define a method called add. And what do you suppose it's going to do? It's going to add two things together. Why? Well, for illustration purposes. Okay, so and I have another one that that has a double. Now, see, these are very different. Like, let me just sort of show why you might want to do this. Let's.
What hotkey do you press?
Oh, it depends on whether you're on Windows or on a Mac. It's Command/. On Windows, it's Control/. Yeah. So yeah. Thanks for playing. NetBeans is. I mean, I know only a fraction of what it can do, but it has a lot of cool things and that's one of them. Okay, so let's. Okay, just to sort of test it. Again, I leave these in because when I'm kind of doing serious stuff, that's stuff I always have. All right, so. All right, so again, here's a class. I just defined it there. It says it can't find it. Again, two ways to do it. I can either right-click and say Fix Imports, or I can click on this. Again, whenever you see a little light bulb with a little red blotch, click on it, and it'll give you some suggestions. So it says, okay, it looks like you're defining a class, and I don't know what the heck that is. So you can either define that class, or, oh, by the way, I found one somewhere else. So let's add that import. Okay. Okay, so here's X and Y.
Can you just put instead of X and Y in the call?
Oh yeah, I could have called. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I want to be, how should I say? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But especially if I'm debugging something, then I want to make these kind of explicit. Maybe I'll show you why. Okay, so oops. Okay, no problem. And Java even got the math correct. So that's always a good sign. All right, but now all right, so now I have some double values for whatever reason, and I want to add those. But I can't do that because it says, well, oops, add, not A and B, A and W. All right. Okay, so incompatible types. All right, so the incompatible types are possible law sheet conversion, blah, blah, blah. Regardless, the main thing is that there is, okay, so it says I can create a method, add double double, or I can split it. So I can either do that or I can simply delete this. So in other words, this is why I need, in this case, method overloading, because if I want to use the same name to do something very similar for, in this case, variables that are either int or double, again, because Java, an int and a double are two completely different critters, whereas in scripting languages, I just got a number, and it'll kind of do whatever you want. So because of that, there's less of a need for it, but also because of that, you're a little more prone to certain errors. So now I can, oops. Okay. So you see why overloading can be very useful. In other words, I don't have to say add int or add double. And if this were another language, if I wanted to do something like this, and it happened to be strongly typed, then I'd have to do something like that. The alternative would be something like, well, well, there are workarounds that these other languages kind of have, but they're very clumsy, and why not just kind of do this? Okay, so did this kind of make method overloading a little clear?
Instead of kind of cover Java things that you've done big picture wise, you created a class called maths.
Yeah.
In that class, you wrote two methods, you named them the same thing, just called thus created method over.
Yeah.
Then you created a Java main class,
Mm-hmm.
named that test maths, imported the math class that you created, and then you essentially called it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now here's the thing about import. There were some early decisions that they made. It was kind of almost a marketing thing. Their target audience were C and C++ programmers, and so they wanted them to feel comfortable. Now, in C and C++, there's a statement called include. And include is, without getting into the details, include is kind of a kludge. It can produce all kinds of weird things. Import looks like it's doing the same thing, but it's actually very inappropriately named because import does not import anything. So you would think that a keyword that says import would actually import something. It doesn't import anything. What it does, all the import statement does, is it allows you to use the unqualified name for a class instead of the fully qualified name. Now, what do I mean by that? The fully qualified name for a class is this. In this case, the maths class, its actual name is cs2173.maths. That's its name. But that's also a lot of typing. And then what you also encounter if you follow the Java conventions is that packages tend to go very, very deep. So I'll have a long string of package names, and there's kind of a convention for that. And so that's an awful lot of typing. So instead of doing that typing, I have this import statement. All right, so I don't need it though. If all I need to do is have a fully qualified reference to each of my classes, and I don't need the import statement. And the reason why we don't is just in this case it's not a whole lot of typing, but it can be a lot of typing. And this is something that's just, oops. Let's make sure we're still running. Okay. That's just kind of a by the by, because in practice what you want to do is you want to use the imports because it makes this much cleaner looking. But it's purely syntactic sugar. It isn't necessary at all.